But let's talk now to the ACDP's Steve Swart, and you will know them through the Reverend Kenneth Meshwe, who runs this party, and you serve with Mr. Meshwe in Parliament, Mr. Swart. Let's talk about what I call the matters arising. Firstly, the criticism against the IEC. Parties like the Democratic Alliance, for example, threatening that they are going to hold the IEC before Parliament to account for some of the irregularities that are playing out. Do you believe that the IEC has a credibility crisis in this round of elections?
Well, Xoli, thank you very much for having us on your show. It's always a pleasure to be on the show. I do agree that there have been massive concerns across political parties have expressed those concerns. The things that we experienced, I myself experienced in the Western Cape yesterday, inordinately long queues. We normally would not have such long queues, machines that weren't working properly, and of course the persons that went to register at the registration weekends and then their names were not on the lists. Late last night, they were told they can come back and vote in appeasement or compromise from the IEC, but many of them did not go back. So the question is, how many people were disenfranchised due to that glitch? And I firmly believe that the IEC needs to be held accountable. However, having said that, we also need to take account that this whole election was truncated into about 42 days. It affected political parties, it affected the media, it affected everyone, including the IEC, given as well that their funding was reduced by us in Parliament. So one's got to take a combination of these factors. Yes, the IEC as a Chapter 9 institution must be held accountable, and myself as a long-serving Member of Parliament agrees that Parliament will need to hold them accountable. There will be an opportunity for that when the IEC brings out their full report on the elections. The Home Affairs Portfolio Committee will engage with the IEC and we will have a debate on the issue. So that's full oversight and accountability from Parliament's perspective.
We're going to talk about your prospects as the ACEDP in a moment. Eskom warning that they may be forced to implement load shedding at short notice. I had Gwede Mantashe sitting on that very chair saying that how they see Eskom in the lead up to this election, particularly the last few days just before November 1, is that Eskom actually became an opposition to the ANC. But as the ACDP, how do you see this whole issue around load shedding, the instability and the energy insecurity in the country? I think that's how I should put it.
And as you know, I served on the Eskom inquiry at Parliament when we started to expose the state capture and corruption that resulted in where Eskom is today. And we see the new units falling down, Medupi, the issues around about that. It is absolutely disgraceful. It is impacting our economic growth, and now we're sitting here with load shedding right here at an election time.
Yeah.
So when you add that, of course, to the lockdown through COVID-19, it has a devastating impact on businesses, on people's lives, and of course now on the elections. And it's unacceptable and must be laid squarely at the door of the majority party that has allowed it to happen. The majority party, the minister, is in charge of that. The Minister of Public Enterprises should have taken greater steps to ensure this does not happen, as well as the board. When we sat on the Eskom inquiry, we made a number of recommendations, and the question is to what degree have those recommendations been implemented?
Yeah, this is what I did promise that I was going to ask you about your prospects, but I'm being told I've completely run out of time. Hopefully we are going to have time to talk about how the ACDP has fared, given that the IEC is saying at least 90% of counting will have been done by the end of the day today.
We're very optimistic, and we look forward to engaging with you further on this.
Thank you very much, ACDP's Steve Swart.